Hidden in a small corner of the idyllic Normandy countryside just west of Caen is a beautiful abbey dating back to the 12th century that bears a very dark history. Fully enclosed by high walls, as was typical at the time, to defend itself from attacks, either by violent locals or generally from invading armies, it would be the site of many attacks, disasters, lootings, wars, bombardments, and even being abandoned several times because of its rather difficult history. The reason it was built, according to legend, a couple from Caen saw the Virgin Mary appear and tell them to build a chapel on the site in 1121. I personally cannot corroborate such a claim, and I'll leave that up to you. Nonetheless, it was even gifted a quarry nearby to aid its construction, and eventually became one of the most influential abbeys in Normandy, and holds the title of the first Protestant church to open in France after the French Revolution. It commanded great views of the area and even out to sea, which leads me neatly onto why I'm here. One of the owners during World War II was part of the French resistance, and thanks to its ability to observe the land surrounding it, they were able to store weapons and ammunition there. But its views did not go unnoticed by the Germans, one German officer in particular, and on the 7th of June, one Kurt Meyer, a commander in the 12th SS Panzer Hitlerjugend division, moved his headquarters to the abbey to utilise its views and launch effective counterattacks against the Allies, particularly the Canadians. The 12th SS were a fanatical group of men with a die-hard attitude, almost akin to that of a religious force. This would see them at times take catastrophic losses, especially on the Eastern Front. They mainly comprised of ex-Hitler youth and battle-hardened men from the 1st SS Adolf Hitler Division. The Canadians had landed at Juno Beach, and despite taking the highest percentage of casualties on D-Day in comparison to any other beach, they would make excellent gains in the following days. However, this would see some units surrounded, particularly by the 12th SS. Kurt Meyer had reportedly expressed to his men this was a time for revenge for Allied bombings of German civilians. I'm not going to go into detail of everything that would happen next, but suffice to say that his words would not go unanswered. Those that were not murdered immediately upon capture by various documented methods, not always having been shot, were led to the HQ at the Abbey for interrogation. They were stripped of anything of value and were later led into a courtyard. One by one, they would shake the hands of the man next to them before being led off into a nearby garden and shot. In total, 20 men would lose their lives here. It wasn't until months afterwards that they were discovered, except for one. But I will add, this is a minimum, and there were only the ones that were known about. Many others fell victim around this area. Kurt Meyer and his men were responsible for the execution of more than 150 Canadian soldiers in Normandy, one of the worst war crimes ever committed against Canada. But this was far from the beginning of their resume. Meyer became well known even in the SS for murdering civilians in Poland, Ukraine, Russia, France, in fact anywhere he stepped foot, ordering entire villages to be burnt to the ground, along with all the occupants. One such event earned him the Iron Cross with oak leaves. It wasn't just soldiers on the Western Front he refused to take prisoner. The Soviet male and female soldiers suffered the same fate. He would rule with fear, even amongst his own men, some of which also fell victim. Altogether, they totaled thousands. Meyer was captured in Belgium in September 1944 and put on trial for his many atrocities. He was sentenced to death, but Europe was sick of wars, and as commonly happened, this was commuted to life in prison, but he was released in 1954. He passed away in 1961, but not before supposedly being allowed to return to Normandy in 1957, to the sites where the crimes were committed.